Are you ready to get your feet wet? Because this is the Knowledge Pool, hosted by Gathering Information. We're here to bring you a casual conversation between friends about everything to do with collecting, trading, and playing Magic the Gathering.
I am Tams.
I am Step.
And I am Laura.
So put on your bathing suits and dive right into the Knowledge Pool. Hello and welcome to episode 32.
I thought about sniping you there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't quite get there. Of the Knowledge Pool.
Hey, you guys. I'm so happy to see your faces.
I'm so happy to actually be here.
And not somewhere else?
Yes, well, there was
On
that
another plane?
chance that I might have to miss this episode.
That's
but I'm
true.
here.
That's true.
And I had a brownie cookie thing before we started, and so I feel good about myself.
And now we're having tea, and so life is amazing.
We're all sugared up. Soon we're going to be all, British watered up.
We'll
And,
do the podcast and then have a nap.
something like that.
Pretty much.
So, news, I guess.
Yeah.
First up, the ban and restriction announcement has come out. Ban and restricted list.
Was anything announced?
No.
Oh,
Or rather, it was announced that nothing is being changed.
and why
So-
is that?
Well, there's not really, I don't think, enough information for them on Standard just because of the way that they started off with Worlds.
Yeah.
So far they've only had Nationals plus a couple of random GPs to, plus the Five Leagues, of course, just to give them a bit more information. Things seem to be alright in that there are a couple of dominant decks for sure, Teamer Energy, Ramming Up Red, but they're kind of focusing on each other.
Yeah.
So that's making them just weak enough for, other decks to kind of get in there.
I heard about a white-red approach deck.
Me too. It sounds super spicy.
I know. I don't usually net deck, but I would want to play that one. Like blue-white approach, I was like, of course there's going to be a blue-white approach list. But this one with, what is it, Sunbird's whatever, Invocation? Sounds really, really fun.
Yeah, so there's just enough to keep things interesting.
I think the list was just called red-white approach.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. And I'm guessing that Wizard doesn't want to mess with what doesn't need messing with.
They've certainly done that enough. And I think it's just becoming increasingly clear to everybody that the reason Standard has needed all of these bans lately has just been Kaladesh. They pushed energy too hard. Mm-hmm. They didn't put in enough to counteract it simply because you can't interact with energy.
Yeah.
And also, none of the cards that were printed with energy on them have the typical drawbacks that getting such a strong benefit would normally take into account.
Yeah, and so since they fixed that in the last couple of BNRs, now it's just like we're dealing with...
Yeah, like there's
things
obviously still the energy deck, but it's beatable at least. So.
But it's status quo now, so we can just live with this.
Yep. And then for Modern, they had, of course, when they announced the Modern Pro Tour, said, guys, this time we promise we won't just ban the number one deck in the format to shake things up and make it interesting. So they did not.
Well, I think Modern is still pretty interesting right now, so they
absolutely.
don't really need to.
There's definitely still a fair amount of different decks that are all still kind of taking a big chunk of the pie up at the top. So it's, you're not just seeing Twin everywhere, although you are seeing Death Shadow everywhere, but at least that goes into a bunch of different decks.
Yeah.
Not just blue decks.
Like a good win condition right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was funny. I was, and I'll talk on this more later, but I was over at a friend's house on Saturday, and they ended up playing Modern after we finished with the draft, which is what we were there for. And my friend was like, hey, you can borrow one of my Modern decks. It's Grixis Control. And then 30 seconds later, she described the same deck as Grixis Death Shadow. I was like, how many decks do you get to call something like that? Like, it's a control deck, which means you want the game to go long, but it's also a Death Shadow deck, which is traditionally more of an aggro deck.
Yeah, well...
So, obviously, that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
It's not a problem, even though it is very strong and goes in a lot of decks, just because it goes in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
I guess. So, some people were saying, specifically for Standard Energy, that they were thinking Attune of the Aether might be banned to put a bit of a hamper on the energy decks. But, nope, seems alright, which I think is fine. Honestly, I think if they're going to try and just break the energy deck, that's not the card to do it with.
That's probably right. I don't know. I don't know enough about Modern, really.
So nothing new for Standard, nothing new for Modern, nothing new for any of the other sets, except for, of course, the 1v1 Commander ban and restricted list, which was announced last week.
And has little to no interest from anybody.
Yeah, the problem is that they just left it too long.
Yeah.
I mean, Brawl was one of the most popular commanders for ages, and Mono Blue was one of the most powerful archetypes, just because it's blue. And, when you include all of cards that are legal in Magic, blue is generally the strongest color.
So maybe this is a good time to take my aside that I was talking about before with you guys.
Okay.
You remember how I said on previous episodes, or maybe just in conversation, how I wish there were a format where I could just play random stuff and not worry about building, the best deck, and that format doesn't exist?
Yeah.
I have further streamlined that thought process to be like, it's not that I want to play suboptimal cards. It's that, to me, things like fast mana or infinite combos or things that you don't actually get to do aren't that interesting. It's like, okay, I have assembled this thing. I now win. Yes? Yes. And you're not playing Magic. Whereas
you're playing Vintage.
That is exactly how I feel, and why I am not a huge fan either.
But it's like either you hit it and you win, or you hit it, they counter it, and you lose, or something like that, you know? Whereas the really meaty games of Magic I like, which is why I like mid-range and limited, is, alright, I have an advantage. I'm probably going to win this if they don't play something. Oh, they've got something. Okay, now I have to deal with that, and that's how I like to experience the game.
More interaction?
Yeah, more interaction.
Sure.
So, anyway.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I don't enjoy playing games where, you sit down, you start, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the store. Text me if what you're doing finally resolves and I lose, okay? It's just, you're not playing Magic anymore. And I get that a lot of people really do enjoy that from the other side of the table.
I've enjoyed that.
It's just not my thing.
So, again, on Saturday, when I was over at this friend's place, and they were playing Modern, one other friend plays Eggs.
Okay.
Do you remember the Friday night sketch?
Yes.
Where... who was it? It was
Jer and Alex.
Yeah, so Jer's playing Eggs.
Yes.
And he goes, okay, I'm going to go off here. And Alex goes, great, text me when you're done if you win.
Yep.
And then he goes to the coffee shop and he, gives this really terrible and not required metaphor on what Eggs is to explain it to Paul.
Yeah.
And then, he ends up back at the table an hour later. Jer's like, and I deck myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really funny to actually watch the deck in action.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's basically what it is.
So, I like combos like that where you can be like, okay, I want to see you stumble. Because that can be
absolutely.
fun.
And Eggs is 100% a combo deck, but you also have to know how you win.
Well, it's kind of like Bad Storm, right?
Sure.
It's like you are basically casting all of your spells and then win, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has a couple of different win conditions based on whether or not, your opponent has a Leyline and Sanctity out and they're hexproof unless you can't get them with Fireball, or, so you can't mill them out, or they have a couple of different win conditions even just in the main board, at least at the version that he was playing. But it essentially was, okay, I'm going to go off.
Okay.
And then you would just watch him for 5 minutes as he dug through his entire deck and he played things, and then he sacrificed them, and then he brought them all back, and then he sacrificed them, and they drew more cards, and then it was just exactly like that skit. See,
that's more interesting to me if there's a chance that they might not win. If there's a chance that they just don't.
Game number 3, yeah. I'd seen enough for the day, but just the first couple of times you're watching it and you're going, that's really interesting.
And that's where I want to enjoy that Magic, from the sidelines watching.
Sure. Yeah, because
I don't want to be across the table from the person, because that can't feel good.
Yeah.
Unless they stumble, and then it must feel amazing.
I have seen, I've played casual on MitGo, and I've seen a Storm deck, and they did all their stuff and then paused for a really long time and then just conceded.
Yes.
It was like, oh.
If you guys...
Okay.
All right, so Johnny Finkel, Johnny Magic.
Yeah.
He streams on Twitch, particularly around Christmas.
Okay.
And only for Cube.
Where he can build Storm.
He only builds Storm. He forces Storm in every single draft. And usually it's terrible, but sometimes it's amazing.
I love watching a bad Storm deck from the Storm player's perspective.
Absolutely. Because the thing is that then you have to try things. Like,
Yeah.
he ended up having to try Bring to Light because he didn't have any other tutors. And it turned out it was really good in some decks.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's great. It goes find everything you want. And in this particular Storm deck, he was like 4 colors anyway.
Fair enough.
And he had green out for Channel.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. So he was already playing the green of it. And you're all, of course, playing blue because you're playing Storm. So it's just very entertaining to watch. I always at least tune in a couple of times during the season.
I'm going to have to catch that.
So I think it's very fun to spectate, especially when you can kind of pick and choose your quantities. I wouldn't necessarily want to go through a tournament and end up playing eggs every time.
Yeah. I can see that.
I don't see that I would want to play like a Storm deck at a big, like more than 5-round tournament. Because that could get exhausting.
Absolutely. I mean, you just have to constantly be thinking things through and, what are the chances that I'm going to draw this particular card and, can I go infinite here? Or if so, how?
I'd love to do it in a 3-round tournament, like an 8-person queue.
No, if you're going to a 9-round, you go mono red.
Yeah.
Give yourself lots of time for breaks.
Yeah,
win
you
fast,
win,
lose
lose
fast,
fast,
go to the washroom and have a nap.
Yeah.
Yep. There we go.
So, next up.
Next on the news.
Just an update from last week. So, we did mention for the Channel Fireball Judge thing that they were going to be updating on the Friday. And they did.
Okay.
Interestingly, from what I can tell, they actually only responded on the MTG Judge subreddit, not the main subreddit, which, I mean, it makes sense, but also it blew up on the main subreddit, not on the Judge subreddit.
Sure.
But on the, other hand, presumably more people who are judges are going to be reading it, like a higher percentage of the people reading it are going to be judges. So whatever. I just thought it was interesting. So first of all, they said that they have drafted a new contract for American events, and they are working with the people who had put together the European contract. So they're hoping to have an updated version by the end of the week, I think, by the 20th, they said. And they have posted the new American Judge one on the upcoming GP applications and stuff like that.
So that's interesting for us because for those of our listeners who don't know, we're Canadian.
Yes.
And not American. But we are North Americans, so we often get lumped into just
That's what
the
I
US.
asked Laura when she and I were talking this. Is this North American or is this just America?
And the answer is we don't know.
We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is like probably
because if they meant North American, presumably they would have said North American.
Right. So
but so anyways, first of all, they've made the agreement now between Channel Fireball and the contractor as opposed to random tournament organizer from last year who put together the contract in Belgium.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably a good thing. And then they've changed some of the problematic languages, particularly the ones where they required judges to guarantee overall performance of the event.
Yeah, because that's just impossible.
Mm-hmm. So they've said now that we require you use your best efforts.
Okay,
That's
which
fair.
basically means nothing in legalese. But
yeah, it's fine. I mean, it just means that you have to not go out of your way to not do it, which presumably if you're there and you're getting paid, you're not going to do anyway.
Yeah.
They've also said, clarified a bit about the tax stuff, and hopefully the fact that now it's an American contract for at least the American GPs will settle some minds for the American judges anyway for that. And then for the liability insurance, which was the important part, they have removed it.
Okay.
And now Channel Fireball will take out the insurance.
Well, isn't
which
that
makes
smart?
sense. If you're a judge, you're not going to buy 3 years of public liability insurance to judge a GP.
Yeah.
Yes. Like a singular.
Yes. So now Channel Fireball will have insurance policies in place, and judges will not need to get their own individual liability insurance. So that's obviously what they should have done in the first place, and it's really dumb that they had to have it pointed out to them. But at least they have changed it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, companies try to pass as much of the expense off to the independent contractors as they can, which is understandable, but this is not like a normal contractor relationship.
It's also sounding more and more like what you were thinking last week, that they were like, hey, you guys have done this kind of thing before. Can you do us a contract? And they're like, we'll just do a European contract like we always do. Here you go.
Yeah. And then, so they've also just kind of adjusted the wording a bit on how you can be terminated, and that now it is only for cause, as opposed to just for any particular reason.
That's good.
They've removed the restrictions about communications, which said that you could only say positive things for 3 months after the GP, which was dumb, and presumably unenforceable. And so they've also said, now that the agreement is subject to the laws of the state of California. Now, that's good. On the other hand, they've also put in this section said that any disputes are subject to binding arbitration, which is generally considered to be very pro-employer and very anti-independent contractor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't seem to recall there being any particularly noticeable events of this happening in the past, like Wizards being sued for this sort of thing by the judges, unless we're talking about the class action we're not independent contractors thing, which this presumably wouldn't be touched by.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that big of a deal, just I don't like companies that try and introduce that.
Yeah, well, we have some Canadian... Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Between us, we have some Canadian HR experience.
Yes.
And it's like that clause is there because the person that makes the contract likes to make things go their way. But I've known companies in the past to agree to mediation before going to arbitration. And
well, I mean, the company will do whatever's best for them, obviously.
Yeah.
The independent contractors want to do what's best for them. So basically just know that this is there.
Yeah.
And so you're aware of it. It's... Like I said, I don't think it's actually that relevant.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of indicative of how they're...
A corporate culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, just how they view their relationship with the judges.
It's good that they're choosing a state of whom, to tie those laws to, because if...
Well, they have to.
If it's any indication, I mean, I think you have to have your law degree you have to pass the bar in different states to practice in them, because the laws vary so vastly. So that's good. Yeah.
So they said that they're still open to feedback, and they've also extended the application GP to one of the most coming up GPs for another week, just so everybody has a chance to look this over and agree first. Yeah. So it seems to me like they've kind of... Like I said, they made a mistake of just not paying enough attention. They had it pointed out to them in very public fashion. They very quickly, to their credit, said, we acknowledge that this is a concern, let us know.
Yeah.
Which, may not have been fair to shift the entire burden onto the judges, but the judges seemed very capable of handling it.
Yeah.
And
I've said this before with the way that people around... Wizards, this is Channel Fireball specifically, but it seems to be in keeping with the way Wizards has been doing their business, is when they make a mistake, they're like, oh crap, okay, here's this thing, we're gonna fix it, let's see how this works, and turning it back over to the community for input, which seems to be a trend.
I mean, if it's a mistake that they can't acknowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be
we haven't heard a single thing from them on the alleged degradation of cardstock quality. I don't know about you guys. When we did that rainbow draft, I could tell there was a very, very big difference between the older cards and the new cards. And nobody's heard a single thing from them on it, presumably because they aren't interested in talking about it until they've investigated or changed things, or they just don't want to tell people that they're not changing things and that's the way it's going to be, or whatever.
They probably also don't want to or can't throw a printer under the bus,
I mean... I don't know that it would necessarily be the printer's fault.
They have to
been so
everything.
Consistent.
Yeah. They have to okay the stuff before it goes to print. So.
But that was just, an off-topic thing. But
big business is crazy.
Yes. So that's pretty much it for the judge thing. If you are a judge and you are impacted by this emotionally, take it out on the judge's form, I guess.
I have been toying for a long time with becoming a judge and had basically decided not to while I was thinking about... going pro with Magic, but now that I'm in the I can't really afford that realm, I was thinking about becoming a judge again, and this has sort of soured me on that idea. you know?
Well, plus there's that whole thing with suspending the judges who they said should have reported people who were speculating on, or who had spoiled cards. This is last year, you know, when they did a bunch of the, when there was a big leak, and one of them was on a judge-only Facebook page, and they said, you judges should have reported it. And it's like, no, we don't actually have any particular business relationship with you.
Yeah.
So we're not your employees. You're not paying us to do this. So, you know, and then they suspended many judges for months.
Wow.
And it was a big thing. And just, I think that it depends on how high up you want to go. Like, if you're an L1 and you're dealing with L1s, obviously it will depend on how good your local judging community is, because that's mostly who you're going to be dealing with. Ours seems to be great.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the judges who are local to us, and they're all very nice.
Yeah.
They're all very welcoming. But I think once you get to L2 and above, you're starting to deal with a more corporate side of things.
Okay.
And if that's something that you're willing to do, just be smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, next up, there was a very funny post to Reddit. I think it was actually just today or yesterday, called the MTG Arena Battlefield Survival Guide. And basically, some very clever person from MTGArenaPro.com put together a graphic, including some animations, which I thought was pretty slick, that shows currently all of the MTG graphics. So, or not the graphics, the symbols.
Sure.
So, you know,
for the evergreen mechanics and such.
Yeah, so what denotes and not just evergreen, raid's not,
Fair
you know,
enough.
and rage is not evergreen.
And such.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have double strike, they have menace, they have trample. Then in the animations, they show you what it looks like when they have summoning sickness, and it shows you what it looks like when they have flying and stuff like that. And they're really, really bad.
Oh, it's awful.
Okay, so the tap ability looks like the tap symbol, and that's fine.
The tap ability is very, very clear.
Summoning sickness and flying, I like. I think they're fine. Everything else looks dumb.
They don't even look like what they're trying to denote. Raid to me looks like a pair of scissors.
Trample is just like a bull.
It does
horns.
look like a pair of scissors.
Right?
So, Steph, you said that you know where these symbols are from.
Well, okay, so they look very similar to some of the symbols from Puzzle Quest, MTG Puzzle Quest.
Mm-hmm.
The menace in particular, I don't know how they came about that symbol. It looks like an eyeball on fire or a eyeball in flames, and that's the one that I know I've seen in Puzzle Quest.
Right, and double strike seems familiar. I think it's pretty close to what they used to use in duels, maybe.
Okay.
But hexproof and reach?
Yeah, reach looks like
a tail.
Or a tentacle, or just a helix shell. And that's really not clear.
So essentially, to be clear...
Like maybe if they had a web for a spider, because spiders are traditionally...
So to be clear, for those people who don't know, what this means is unless you mouse over the card, you're going to have to memorize these symbols and what they mean. And they don't look enough like what they're supposed to mean to make this a very easy thing to
especially because they are going to be relatively small.
Yeah.
So, they're obviously still open to feedback, which is good because they're getting a lot of it.
I would imagine.
I believe this has been nearly universally panned as being really, really hard to figure out. And the problem is that Arena is supposed to be really intuitive. That's the point. These are not at all. To either people who play Magic, I mean, we play Magic, we don't know what these mean.
No.
Or to people who don't play Magic, they're not going to be able to... They're not going to want to memorize, like, these, 10 symbols or whatever.
We'll know when we get our hands on it more if it's actually intuitive. But, like... So, I might be in the minority here, but the cards in Arena look like the top half of a Magic card. Like, they had their text box sliced off.
Yes, that's what they look like.
Art. And I would prefer to just see a Magic card.
But now we're just getting into Migdo.
Except... like all of the other peripherals around Arena, it being faster and shinier and brighter and nicer looking, is all that really matters.
I completely agree with you, which might put me in that same minority. I mean, look, I am not an aesthetics person. I am 100% a function person. As soon as I've played through the, my first Phantom Draft on Miko or whatever, and figured out how to change my stops and to change my fast keys, I'm fine with it. I like the way, or I don't like the way it looks. I think the way it looks is very functional, which I'm fine with. I think that it provides all the information that you need, and I know the cards well enough that it's easy enough for me to rely on the artwork if I don't want to bother zooming in on any of the text if it's too much for the text box or whatever. So I also preferred the old way, but then again, I don't...
Do you play Hearthstone or
I have played
Eternal
Hearthstone, actually, and I have played Eternal. I played Hearthstone for a couple of years, and I watched a lot of streamers as well during the time. I don't love the Hearthstone aesthetic. I think the problem is that you need to then memorize all of the artwork.
Yeah.
To figure out what things are.
Well, a lot of people do that for Magic anyway.
Yeah, and I did it for Hearthstone. Just then you would come back from, when there was a new set out, and you'd go, oh god, I don't know what any of these cards mean. Now I have to go memorize a whole bunch of new artwork.
Which is also not different for Magic. Tams, you look like you were going to say something.
Yes, so Tams, you are very much more the designer point of view here. I'm definitely more form over function, and I think Step is kind of the same here.
You mean function over form?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will go back to Step's original comment, which was flying and summoning sickness. I agree. The floating, it's perfectly indicative of a card that has flying. I think
and
that's
that was
great.
how they did it in duels.
Yes.
The summoning sickness is an animation that is kind of similar to what they've done before, so it's fine.
It kind of looks just like a foil.
Yeah. I appreciate... Now, personally, I would rather be able to read the card easily, because for me, the way I think, it's just easier for me. That said, I understand what they're going for, and I can appreciate the idea of, just the image, the power and toughness, and then a card or a symbol to denote anything of extra that you need to know. However, this fails horribly, because they don't look like... Okay, I can see what they're getting at with Double Strike. It's two swords that look like they've both struck. It's not great, but I get it.
Yeah.
Hexproof is a bunch of, as you said, mystical symbols in the
It looks like the Gruul symbol.
Quasi-mystical symbols.
Yeah,
It looks like they're using some,
sticks.
faux Hebrew symbolism or something.
To me, it looks like the Gruul clan symbol from Ravnica. It looks
Gruul,
like...
well known for its hexproof abilities.
Yeah.
Now, the triggered
really.
ability looks like it's supposed to be like a stopwatch or a clock or something, so I guess they're denoting at some point something will trigger, but it's still not great. I just think they have very poorly chosen their images. Now, that said, they pop, like everything pops off the screen. It's easy to see it. Some of the images aren't great, like the scissors there. But
that's just because of the source material that he pulled it from.
Absolutely.
The problem I have with this is that it looks a lot like the Wemyss, or what are they calling it now? Wemyss symbols.
Sure.
So they've got different kinds of boxes for all of the...
Yeah, God, can you remember trying to remember
relevant-
what was combustible and what was oxidizing materials? I
Yeah.
always got those mixed up.
Yeah.
But they're going to keep adding symbols as the game progresses,
and
and
as
they're
new
going to
set
get
mechanics
more and
come
more
out.
convoluted. If you have trouble telling Arabian Nights apart from Mirrodin because of the expansion symbol,
Boy, do I. And it comes up often.
this is going to be the same problem with these symbols.
Yeah.
And going back to the form or function thing, I am very much enthusiastic about the form of things, because I think that should serve the function. It's all about ergonomic design, and this is ergonomics for the eyes.
Yes.
I would be perfectly happy if they took the centered power and toughness and shifted it to where it normally would belong.
Yeah, to the right.
On the card, and then simply put the symbol and double strike. Written it down.
The problem
in
is,
a nice
what do you do
bold
for
font.
cards that have multiple abilities?
I just think you need to keep the text box. And I know,
Or it doesn't even have to be an identical text box to what's on the cards. It could just be, a text box that then has symbols on it or something that just provides a bit of extra space so it's not covering up the image, which is obviously something they want to avoid.
Yeah.
And then if you mouse over any of the symbols, you'll be able to get the word written out. But, that's also not intuitive.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I don't play Hearthstone or Eternal or any of those other card games, because it's just too much effort to learn a new card set that I just prefer to play Magic.
Right.
Right?
And now you're having to do that in order to play Magic.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, fortunately for us, because we don't really like it, nobody else really likes it either. So they're certainly getting feedback about it.
It's true.
And hopefully it will be refined and adjusted throughout the beta.
I feel a little bad for Wizards about this, though, because like with the tap symbol, or once... how did they tap? They sort of tapped on a 45 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I actually didn't mind that so much. And when I heard them talking about, well, believe me, this is better than the full, 90 degrees, and we've been working with this for a long time, and this is the best solution we've had. I'm like, okay, I believe that because you've been working with this for a while. And then to put something out there and the internet just say, no, I'm sorry, I hate it, immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only listen to so much of that because they do.
I feel for the
designers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when everyone says they hate it, you're going to...
There's something there.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of feel like the problem is their competitors are things like Hearthstone and Eternal and Hex. Yeah. And all of these things look much nicer.
Magic kind of feels like the DC movie universe.
I'm sorry, except the Wizards has said for the past 5 years that Hearthstone is not a competitor. My apologies.
Right.
Obviously.
Well, it's not a competitor for paper Magic.
That's true. Ish.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much it for the news. Not too much going on. U.S. Nationals happened. I
think the Canadian Nationals also happened,
Canadian
but I don't
Nationals
remember
happened?
anything about it.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so U.S. Nationals, just the interesting thing was that there were a couple of new decks, like you said, things like the red-white approach deck and things like that. So it's not just Temur and Mono Red. So
which is good.
Be happy. And I think, honestly, all of the feedback that I've heard about Nationals is, God, I wish it had been the week before instead of Worlds.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I honestly don't care about organized tournaments, except that I should be watching more coverage because it would be a good chance to enjoy Magic more. Mm-hmm. But I don't really care when it happens. I just want to see new and interesting things.
Sure, but the problem is that if Nationals had come first, maybe somebody at Worlds would be playing the blue-red or the white-red approach deck, or would be playing one of those more interesting decks, just because the more people who are trying to spike a tournament or whatever, the more decks that you're going to see.
It's true.
And when there's only 24 people and they're gearing towards a very specific metagame, like we talked about last week, you know, you're going to end up with the same two decks.
I just guess I don't see the point of getting excited about the tournament for the tournament's sake. When you're looking at Worlds, you're looking at the players more than the decks.
Really?
You know?
Not me. I love watching people spike tournaments with, like, terrible, janky decks.
All
it's
right.
about my favoriteest thing.
But when it happens.
Yes.
Okay.
And especially for larger tournaments, not necessarily like nationals, but like a lot of the GPs, especially the earlier rounds, coverage teams really try and focus more on the janky brews, because they know that, once you get to the finals or whatever, it's just going to be kind of the tier decks usually. And if it's not, then you can obviously spend more time then. But the first few rounds, you get to see a lot of crazy decks, and it's really fun just to see what people are thinking and what they think can do well at a tournament, and sometimes what actually does well at a tournament.
Thinking about Nationals having happened, I think I want to qualify next year and actually go.
Well, gotta do some GPs, I think.
Yeah.
So, one other thing that you wanted to talk, I think, about a little bit was just the Canadian national team. In that Nationals happened no one cares.
I guess the Canadian celebrities are all content creators and not tournament players.
Yeah, and there's not even that many of them, I don't think. Like, certainly there are well-known people, like, locally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We still have that one guy who has a pro point and brags about it endlessly.
Yeah.
So it's just that, the Magic scene's not as well known in Canada. We don't have Channel Fireball, and it's kind of like sport teams. All of our celebrities get lumped in with the American celebrities because they're usually playing for American-sponsored teams.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
it's sad, really.
Let's be honest. How shocked were we when we found out somebody that I know well, that was somebody that I did theater with for years, was playing Magic and playing with Team Mana Deprived and working with, face-to-face games, because
we had no idea.
We had no idea. So, friend of mine, Scotty Mac, and he Facebooked me. He's like, "You're playing Magic, so am I." I'm like, "Oh, that's cute." He's still playing Kitchen to Oh, he's like, no, I was just playing with Graham and Kenji and blah blah. And I'm like, shut up. I love you, but shut up. It's not fair. But you just don't hear as much about, unless they are, somebody that goes on Loading Ready Run, because they have their own celebrity aside from the Magic stuff.
And tends to be more West Coast oriented, simply for geography.
Yeah, and also they're closer to Wizards.
Yeah, you don't see as many Canadian content makers making a splash either.
Yeah, I mean, there's, we know Judge John. We have obviously ourselves.
Yeah.
How many other Canadians are making content other than Learn?
Yeah, Loading Ready Run.
Yeah.
I know the names of a couple of Magic people in Canada just because they're friends with Channel Fireball people, so they show up on, like vlogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a couple of, I think, Montreal-based people with... Is Face-to-Face originally from Montreal?
I think so.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So
it's something to think about.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah. And I'm sure, there are other countries I've heard content from where their nationals are a big thing.
Well,
and their Magic people are
even just looking at the GP, there were a lot of people there. So people are playing Magic in Canada.
Oh, for sure.
It still annoys me that there were 2 limited GPs on the same weekend, and one of them was in Japan, and one of them is in Toronto, Canada.
So we got no coverage at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that it was in Japan. It was that it was in Japan, and all the pros were in Japan for the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
In Japan the next week.
Yeah.
But still,
sucked for us.
We didn't have Marshall there or any of the big pros. Well, most of the big pros.
Darn it, Marshall.
So,
Well, because they were all going to cover the Pro Tour, right? So
exactly.
Poor old Canada.
We'll get there.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, no, I do think it was interesting just that some other countries where they, I guess are just geographically smaller, and that might be part of it. They have a stronger sense of Magic community.
Yeah, that could be it.
Maybe we don't have.
Maybe we are adopting the Americans as our own and neglecting to look at.
I would say that's generally true, but
about
also
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, partially due to a lack of choice and just the abundance of American content.
Yeah, that is true. It's an interesting well to jump into. Yeah. It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
So what's next, Laura?
We're all just going to become famous Magic pros so that we are, in fact, the face of Canadian Magic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
cool.
That's my plan. And to start that off, I actually want to do a crack pack because I didn't get to do one last week. Because you both opened my cards and
I didn't open any.
You didn't open any?
No, I opened them all.
No.
Okay.
But
I don't like conspiracy.
But don't touch.
This is excellent.
Is it?
But you're going to open it like a nice person, right? And not pop it.
Oh, yeah. Before we do that, though, what have we been doing this week in Magic? I'm the only person who's done anything this week in Magic.
I cracked this pack.
I mock drafted online.
All right, so I will quickly run through my my Saturday event at a friend's house. I sorted a bunch
of cards.
We did an 8-person friendly for fun at, not at all sanctioned, Ixalan draft.
That sounds fun.
I first picked the green mythic rare dinosaur that has life. You gain life equal to the creature's toughness when it enters the battlefield. So the thing is, I specifically said, should I play the fun card that I probably won't actually play because it's not that good, which is that, or should I play the actual pick, which is the white uncommon enchantment removal for non-land permanents?
Binding?
Obviously, the removal spell is the correct choice there. However, the dinosaur is a sweet pick, so I took it. I went super heavy green-red dinos, in that I had 3 of the red 2-drop that gets +1/+1 when attacking if you have a dinosaur.
Zelenali's Knight.
Alright, so I'll be honest, it wasn't actually much of a dinosaur deck. I only had 7 or 8 of them in my deck.
That's enough.
I was a 2-drop deck.
Okay. So you were the red-white deck except in green.
I had about 10 2-drops. So I had 2 of what I actually really like. It's the green 2/2 common that gets +1/+1 when it's blocked. I was very impressed with that card in the pre-release.
Mm-hmm.
I was running 2 of them. I had 2 more in this deck. I was very happy to have them.
It was a major player in my Merfolk deck.
Yeah. I can definitely see that.
I had 2 of them, I think.
So, so I had a fair amount of good removal. I had 2 unfriendly fires.
Nice.
Which I used multiple times to kill people to the face.
Nice. I still haven't done that.
It was great. Well, because when it happened, it was usually because I went unfriendly fire you, untap, unfriendly fire you. I had I was playing round 2 against a green blue Merfolk player.
Okay.
His deck was pretty good. He hadn't played Magic in ages, but he was the only Merfolk drafter at the table, so he was able to get what he wanted. And we were going pretty late game. I had about 8 mana. He had already shown me in a previous game that he had at least 1 counterspell.
Okay.
I had 2 unfriendly fires in my hand. And then I drew my green dinosaur. The only time I got to play him all evening. Played it, countered. Next turn, unfriendly fire you. Next turn, unfriendly fire you.
So he did win you the game by getting rid of that counterspell.
Yes.
Nice.
But, I mean, the dinosaur still would have won me the game.
Sure.
It's like a, giant creature.
Yeah.
So, it was fun. I definitely was not playing the deck I should have been playing in that seat, but I didn't care because it's a fun draft, so I was not trying to play competitively. I still went 2-1, but like I said, nobody was taking it very seriously.
Sometimes you have more fun going 2-1 than trying to spike.
Absolutely. So that was pretty sweet. And then, like I said, we ended up, I'll say playing. I got to pilot 8 Rack, which is a modern deck, against an Eggs deck, which the matchup is basically unwinnable for 8 Rack.
So I have heard this name, but tell me what 8 Rack is.
Essentially the point of the deck is to 1-for-1 your opponent, and, through discard spells and hand disruption and removal, and then you play something like 8 Rack, which punishes your opponent in life damage for not having very many cards in hand.
Oh, the Rack.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The Rack is the card. So the Rack deals X damage to your opponent on their upkeep if they have, or where X is then 3 minus the number of cards that they have in hand. Or
Does it
like
also
that.
play Black Vice, which is the other one, or is that not?
I think so. It also plays a black enchantment that does something very similar.
Okay. So
when they
there
have
are probably 8
one or
copies of the
fewer
Rack, and that's
one or
where the name
fewer
comes.
cards in hand, it deals 3 damage to them or something like that. So the problem is that like it's main decking a lot of creature removal spells.
Yeah.
And Eggs plays literally 0 creatures.
Right.
And there's no way to disrupt the combo because it's mono black. And
So is there a sideboard option?
yes, but we weren't.
You were just trying one up.
I was just piloting the deck whilst the actual pilot was outside for a couple of games. So this is where I got to see Eggs go off. It was pretty sweet to watch. Especially because it was only a for fun game. If it had been a championship tournament or whatever, I would have been less impressed.
Yeah.
But I also would have had more sideboard options. So I guess there's that.
Well, that's fair.
So yeah, that was not my first foray into Modern, but one of few, and also definitely the first one where I've gotten to see 2 not like tier 1 decks playing against each other.
I love that because like most of what I hear about Modern is from tournaments, and that's the metagame.
Yes, or maybe a Modern, a Merfolk deck will go rogue, or like the blue-green Merfolk deck that actually did really well in a recent GP.
Yeah, I'm super interested in that one too, but I like when I got back into Magic, there was a completely different Modern metagame, right? Like it was what was the green card that got banned?
Amulet, Scapeshift, Bloom.
Boggles?
No, Boggles is still going. It's the
One of those.
pod.
Birthing Pod.
Birthing Pod, like before it was banned. And then
that will be a pretty big metagame shift.
Twin combo.
Yep.
And things like that. And so there were these rogue decks out there during that time, which kind of went away as the metagame shifted. And it's interesting to hear about them.
Yeah. So anyways, that was This Week in Magic. Steph, would you like to crack a pack?
I would like to crack a pack.
Alrighty.
It's got a... What is this on the cover? Is
A
that
vampire.
the Vampire
A conquistador.
Yeah.
So we probably can speed a little bit through the comments this time, I would think.
Alright, Tillanolly's Knight. Look at that. It's the one that gets +1/+1 if you have a dinosaur.
Don't first pick it. Definitely take it if you have 5 or more dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because I think 2-drops are really key in this format.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
It's a good one if you have dinosaurs.
Looming Altasaur.
The 1/7,
Meh.
Queen's Agent.
The 6 mana 3/3 lifelink explorer.
Yeah.
Meh.
Spike-tailed Ceratops. I haven't heard anything about it since the pre-release where it was excellent.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
If you're playing dinosaurs, you'll play it.
4 and a
If
green
you're-
for a 4/4.
If you're not playing dinosaurs, you probably won't play it.
Yeah. Does it block additional creatures, or does it just keep them back and attack?
Well, the person who I played it against on Saturday was using it to protect a Vraska, so that worked.
Fair enough. Yep. Pirate's Prize. That's sorcery. 3 and a blue. Draw 2 cards. Create a treasure.
I have not seen this played.
Me either.
Excellent.
Vanquish the week.
Currently our front runner.
I
2
think
and a
so.
black, destroy target creature, power 3 or less. Seems quite good.
Yep.
There's a lot of creatures that this hits, and it's at instant speed, so.
It looks a lot like a what is
The
it?
Origins card, right? The black.
I was going to say
sorcery?
that red open fire.
Oh.
It just looks basically like 3 mana, 3 damage, or not
Kinda.
really, but kind of. Jungle Delver.
The 1/1 for 1. You'll play it if you're a merfolk, I think.
I don't think I did because
No?
I already had 17 Merfolk.
Oh, sure. Well, in that case, probably don't need it.
Spoiled brat.
Here we have Ancient Brontodon next
I had 2 of those in my sideboard on Saturday.
in your sideboard.
Well, it was for if I ever wanted to go off with my gaining life
Fair
dinosaur, which I did not. 'cause
6 green.
I was winning
green
with 2 drops.
for a 9/9. All right. Tishana's Wayfinder. This is 2 and a green for a 2/2 that explores.
I quite like this card.
I would think about first picking this card, but not
Over removal.
Yeah, not over removal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. How about Prying Blade?
Eh.
I think 1 mana for a +1/+0 equipment, and
When it deals combat damage to a player, it gets a treasure equipped for 2.
I don't think it's playable.
Nope. If you want equipment, get a Pirate's Cutlass.
Yeah. Field of Ruin.
Nope.
What does this even do? Sack it to
Destroy target
right.
non-basic land.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets land.
Ooh, I need one of these. Wily Goblin.
So it's a red for a 1/1 that creates a treasure token when it enters the battlefield.
So is this being played in
I believe
Red
this
Standard?
is the treasure red.
Yeah.
Slight alteration to round up red.
I don't really get the point
Me
other than
neither.
deploying your hand faster, but it's like if you're playing a 1/1 for 2, you might as well play 2 1/1s for 1.
Yeah.
You know?
I am with you.
Okay. Ranging Raptors.
Ooh.
2 and a green for a 2/3 with Enrage.
Enrage ramp.
Yep.
I like this card.
I like this
don't
card.
know if I take it over removal, but of the creatures, it's definitely the top choice so far.
I think I might take it. Just because
You like
I know
green?
it's not coming back. Yeah, I do like green.
Removal's never coming back, so I'm taking removal.
That's
Plus,
fine.
you like black more than you like green anyway.
It's true.
Yeah, what do we got?
Ashes of the Abhorrent.
Oh, yeah, I have 2 of those. It's great. The enchantment, 1 and a white, players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities. It's a standard sideboard card, and nobody's playing it there.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Okay, so we're all on Vanquish the week, is that?
Unless you're taking the dinosaur.
No, I think I'm taking Vanquish the week.
Alright.
There we
So
go.
that wasn't a very exciting crack-a-back.
Oh, well.
Went
That's
fast,
alright.
though.
That's the way it goes sometimes.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So, the last topic that we want to talk about, somebody else want to...
No,
Tams.
you're
Excellent.
piloting very well tonight. So
Alright.
you feel free to
This
pilot.
is what happens when
You're in
I'm
the
sitting in
driver's
the
seat.
middle.
I know.
I feel... Oh, is that why you stuck me in the middle this week?
Maybe.
Alright, so we want to talk about how, or I guess just what we spend time on outside of Magic that is still related to Magic. So Magic and hobbies.
So besides playing Magic.
Yes.
Well, I sort a lot of cards.
Yes, you do.
Um,
For fun, for profit.
yes, both of those things. Yeah. I sort a lot of Magic cards.
And it's a zen. Like, we laugh, but it's a very zen activity for you.
You just throw on a movie and...
It keeps me from snacking while I'm watching TV.
Mm-hmm. Gives you something to do with your hands?
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And when my phone is dead, I have Magic cards. Magic cards don't run out of batteries.
You also play Puzzle Quest. Or...
I did. I have since deleted it from my
Oh,
phone.
no! But what about your cycling deck?
I was getting bored of it.
You were winning too much.
I was winning too much. Cycling is busted in Puzzle Quest. If you have Faith of the Devoted, you should build that cycling deck because it is really fun for like a month.
Who was your planeswalker?
That was Liliana. Because she has removal as her planeswalker ability. Mm-hmm. Basically, you deal at the level she was at 1 damage to me and each of my creatures, and 5 damage to my opponent and each of their creatures. Mm-hmm. So it keeps them off the board while I just cycle them to death.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think about Puzzle Quest monetization?
It was terrible. Like, their monetization was the worst part of the app. They would never get money out of me. Mm-hmm. Whereas I have spent $1 here, $1 there on loads of other apps. I play Pokemon Go, and I've spent, I don't know, $6, $7, maybe like $15 over the course of my life.
20 bags.
I don't spend much on apps, but hey, they got money out of me. Mm-hmm. There was what was it called? Flow Free. It was just a puzzle game and I unlocked their extra levels because I enjoyed making the pipes.
I'm playing that right now and finding it very zen and fun.
Yeah, but the fact that they want to sell me a bundle on Puzzle Quest for $63.99 or whatever.
That's as much as you can buy a new game for.
Yeah.
An actual like computer game with good graphics. Like that's how much the XCOM 2 DLC that's practically a new game is going for.
The last time I spent that on a video game was Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Yeah.
Oh.
So
there's a reason why we shop on Humble Bundle.
Yeah. But
except
I still
now they've been bought out.
Yeah. Well, I still spend $1 here, $1 there on video games. But when I see, $63 being advertised in the store, I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend money on you.
No, especially not for a phone game.
No.
Yeah.
So, do you like to watch VODs or streamers or?
I watch Lure MTG a lot because I enjoy Loading Ready Runs content in general and them as human beings. And I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Fair enough.
And 5 of those are Magic related.
That's fair.
All right.
What about you, Tams?
Okay, so I'm crafty.
Yes.
So I do like to try to come up with interesting ways to integrate magic into my crafts. So last year for Christmas, I made Step a box. You see, we had a lot, and by a lot I mean a crate full of tip cards and the blanks, that you get. And I knew somebody who was giving a bunch away, so I took them all. And so what I did was I took an X-Acto knife and I cut a window through it. And I stacked a bunch on the bottom in their solid form. And then I stacked these cut out up, and it created a box. Mm-hmm. And then a box top, which I decorated with Ajani art, and then sealed it. And it turned out pretty well. And I've done some clay work for ornaments, and they're the mana symbols for the tree. So I like crafty stuff. I'm always looking for something new to create crafty-wise. I also watch, some magic content. One thing I do to kind of pull my magic stuff into other things I enjoy is I have created several World of Warcraft characters named after magic characters. So I have Nissa Ravane.
Yeah.
And, so it's kind of fun when you do that and you pop in and you start playing with these characters, and then you have people sending you messages that they recognize it, and then you get talking about magic.
Yeah.
And you can make some new friends and talk about stuff, and it's just kind of a fun thing to do.
We were talking about doing some magic-related interior decorating, too, at the old place. Mm-hmm. Namely, putting a tablet of the guilds in the dining room. And I think I just saw a spot that we could put that.
Yeah, that would be great
if we wanted to paint the tablet of the guilds somewhere.
I think so far my favorite magic-related non-playing thing that I've done so far is the History of Magic videos that Steph and I were working on. That was, I think, the most fun I've had with Steph, taking a topic. He writes up, about this particular planeswalker. And then as a graphic artist, creating graphics or gathering graphics and creating a video to narrate his story. And I really enjoyed that. So
A lot of work, though.
oh yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's so fun.
Every time I come over, it'd be, I've done another whole 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I just never got them to the quality that I wanted them to be.
Yeah, but I don't
the
think
audio
they're
and the scripting.
ever going to be to the quality that you think you want them.
Okay, honest opinion, Laura. How did they stack up against other Magic content that you've seen?
I don't watch other Magic content that isn't people playing Magic.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's fair.
I mean, there isn't that much other Magic
And that's
content.
the whole thing.
There's lots.
Alright, there probably is that I just am not interested in. I watch out of loyalty, not out of interest.
That's fair.
Yeah, Magic history is not super my jam. But, yeah.
So how about you?
I watch a lot of Magic content. Usually on Twitch or YouTube.
People streaming?
I prefer YouTube so I can skip through many things if it's like coverage and they have, 5-minute intervals of here's a commercial.
You know, one of the players, the Let's Players that I enjoy the most for his quality of content is, I think, Saffron Olive. Like, he cuts out
Saffron Olive.
everything that's not necessary.
Yeah, and not only that, if you ever look at some of the decks that he does for fun, usually he'll also do just a highlights reel, where it's only like interesting parts of it or cool things or sweet combos.
It makes for really sharp content.
Yes, even if he mispronounces every other word.
And it's hard to listen
And
to.
I really enjoy him because he's so enthusiastic, but sometimes I find he can be a little sharp. As far as he can be a little mean at times.
You say that like it's a problem.
Oh, well, for my personal taste. And sometimes I just want to pat him on the head and take a deep breath. Calm down. He's a
funny
bit hyper.
how he says buttons.
Buttons. I know. He's cute. I want to give him a hug.
Yeah.
He's very fun. I enjoy reading articles like that where it's kind of janky ideas.
I love his decks. They're just really cool.
Yes.
The Against the Odds stuff is
Yes.
So much fun.
I mean, that's where I got a lot of the most recent standard decks I've been running. Not for this particular standard season, but the last standard season I was only running budget decks basically.
Sure.
So, so I like a lot of Magic content there. I also listen to several podcasts. A lot of them just on different parts of Magic, just because I don't play Commander, but I listen to a Commander podcast. I don't play Canadian Highlander, but I listen to a podcast about it.
I should listen to a Commander podcast, because I don't.
Yeah, so I don't know, I just have diverse interests, and as long as the podcast itself is engaging, I enjoy all sorts of Magic content.
And it's funny, getting a podcast about, like you said, Canadian Highlander is the newest one that I've started listening to. And just finding cards that you'd never hear mentioned anywhere else. I'm like, oh, that might be sweet for a janky kitchen table brew.
Yep, very interesting.
Now I have to ask, Laura,
Yes.
because I know somebody else at this table might be a little bit crafty herself.
Yes. So I'm not super crafty, but I knit for several years, but I didn't enjoy it. It was more that I had projects that I wanted to do, and so I would do them, and then I have to force myself to finish. But I took up crocheting about a year ago. I love it. I made many a thing with crocheting. Yes. So I've also taken to incorporating some Magic stuff. I have not yet done any Magic amigurumi, but I have my eyes on some patterns. I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I have not yet done any, even though I have crocheted around and stuff, and so I think I have a pretty good handle on a lot of the techniques that are involved. It's more the fiddly work of putting everything together.
I've seen a lot of amigurumi, mostly vegetables, and they're super cute.
Okay, for those like me who don't have a clue what you're talking about, explain what this is.
You're the weeboo.
Okay, so amigurumi, I can't remember how it started, but they're basically forms of things. 3D
animals?
3D things created from crochet. And you can knit amigurumi too, but it started as
crochet. Stuffed animals?
Stuffed animals, sushi, vegetables, little fruit with faces.
Oh, Japan.
Maybe Mario, or hey, there's a link right there. Click the button.
Your mouse.
You have to click the button to activate it.
All right.
It's wireless.
Wireless.
So Amigurumi, yeah.
Oh my god, they're little stuffed animals, and I want
Star Wars
Chandra.
characters.
Oh, they're so
check
cute.
out all those planeswalkers.
Yep.
They've got the what did they call them? The Origin 5?
The Planeswalker, or the Gatewatch.
The Gatewatch.
Oh, they're so cute. I'm glad I asked.
Pokemon,
instead of just
of
smiling
course.
and nodding.
I think one of the originals was like peas in a pod, and the
I've
peas
seen those.
with eyes were knit separate or
Yeah,
crocheted separately.
Yeah, so crocheting is definitely the most common way of doing these that I've seen, but
Yeah.
a lot of stuffed animals, little owls, and teddy bears, and Hello Kitty,
I
cup
love
of
the
tea.
teacup.
stuff like that. So it involves mostly crocheting in the round, which is a specific technique, and it involves a lot of counting until you get the hang of it the first time. So the actual magic crocheting projects that I've done have been dice bags. So
I love my dice bag.
Seem a little amigurumi. Like you could make a stuffed dragon that looked like that.
Yeah, so
right?
I've done a couple of dragon scale dice bags. I say a couple. I've done, I think, like 5 of them.
Yeah.
So the first 2 were for Steph for his birthday. And
Yes,
then I
thank
put
you.
a moratorium on making any more until he got a chance to enjoy being the only one at our shop with these special, unique
I didn't know
snowflakey
that. Thank
things.
you.
Yeah.
And then I made one for Tams.
I love mine. It's so beautiful.
Yours turned out so
I
pretty. The
know.
yarn was just great. And then I made myself one, and then I didn't like the way the yarn ended up turning out after using it for a while, because it was a straight wool as opposed to an acrylic. And so, but it looked super sweet. So then I made myself another one, so I think I made about 5 of them.
Didn't you make
that
one for the
particular one.
LGS owner as well?
That was a completely different pattern.
Oh.
So those are the Dragon Skull ones that I've done, and just the way that the base is created, it's also done on the round. It also involves very specific stitch counts, and the first time I tried to make steps, this is like my 3rd or 4th crochet project ever. Boy, did I make mistakes. I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up with like 11 too many stitches, which is not good for this particular pattern because it involves a very specific pattern for the body of it, so you need a very specific stitch count, or at least a correct multiple for the base of it. So anyways, it involved a lot of ripping out and repeating, but I actually didn't mind because I was learning a lot of new things. I was experimenting to see what worked and what didn't, and that was kind of the point of tackling a challenging project like that. So a lot of those techniques, and I've done kind of similar projects, like I've done now hats. You saw my dragon scale hat?
It's gorgeous.
Oh,
my
it turned out
gosh.
so nice with that yarn.
I'm so jealous. It's beautiful.
We'll just have to wait till winter.
I guess so.
And so things like that. So I feel like I've got a handle on it. Just like I said, it's kind of fiddly attaching all of the different parts, because like you make the head separate, and you make the ears separate, and you make the arms separate, and you make the legs separate, and then you have to sew them all together, and then you have to put on the eyes, and then you have to... I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also done, like you said, I made a couple of dice bags for our shop owner, and those ones were with the color symbols on them. So he loves gruel.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I did one that was base black, and then it had the red symbol, or the fire symbol, on one side, and that was just crocheted in 2 colors. So again, very interesting. I'd done it knitting, but never done it with crochet. And then the other one was the forest symbol, and I had that one on both sides of it.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah, they turned out pretty nice, considering it was my first time using that particular color change technique. So it's something you have to do whilst paying attention to make sure that you are doing the correct stitches in the correct colors on the correct line, and then you have to read it backwards. And so I haven't, so far his are very unique, so I haven't done any other ones like that, but it's always on my mind. Like I have a couple of pictures of one's like a scarf where you just do up squares of, here's the fire symbol on a black background, here's the green symbol on a, an auburn background or a silver background,
that'd be amazing.
and you just get all of these squares and you do 2 of each, or even alternating colors, but the same symbol, and then you just make them into a scarf.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
You
gosh.
do like a quilt that way too.
Yep, you absolutely can.
Crocheted quilt.
Yep.
Oh.
So, I just have so many things, so little time.
Yeah.
But I love doing it, and I really enjoy being able to make fun things for my friends that reflect our hobbies.
Yeah.
Specifically magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really cool.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I spend my time doing, and it's great because they're really complimentary, because I can throw on a Twitch stream and then crochet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's more
Like
you
you
can
do with your
than
sorting
just play
cars.
Magic.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically how the best way to have hobbies is when they interconnect that way.
Yeah.
Also, I should mention we do this. Like, this is
Yes.
magic-related hobby.
How did we start this podcast? We were already getting together every week and talking about magic, and we said,
Wanna do a
why not
podcast?
record it?
Yeah.
Now, there is a final thing that Steph and I technically have done, but we've never shared and we've never gotten to the point where we're ready to like put it out there. That is something I think we should do. Is Steph loves to write riffs on history or storyline that's going on in song form. So we've taken some
Oh no.
either using music from other people or whatever. And I'm a singer by trade, and so I keep thinking I should put together some sort of a video for one of these things and put it out there.
I couldn't agree more.
Because, Laura, you, I'm sure, have seen a lot of the World of Warcraft, the Spiff's World. Was it
have
Spiff?
seen-
So I
Yeah.
love parody music. Like, I grew up on Weird Al.
Oh,
Yankovic,
yeah.
And so sometimes it'll just pop into my head, and like the one that we were going to do and record and surprise people who are present but didn't end up getting around to was Will You Be My Nico Bolas?
Yeah, we couldn't find the proper music for it. That was the
Right.
problem. So he had written out a whole little story,
It was like,
and it was really funny. So
plus
that's
they're
something.
terrible. Like,
But
I'm
in a
really
most
not
wonderful
a
way.
lyricist.
But yeah, so that's something I think we can try at some point, which would be
I
super fun. So, we're giant nerds.
That's true.
Is that a beholder? That's a beholder.
I mean, we've always kind of been... This one?
Yeah.
We've always been kind of giant nerds. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
all three of us have always just had geeky hobbies of
Oh,
various
absolutely.
sorts. So
Yep.
I got made fun of for reading sci-fi in elementary school, and it's like, whatever. This world is cooler than yours. So,
I
So.
hid
and now
from...
it exists.
Yes, I had similar experiences more with fantasy, but also sci-fi. And,
Yeah.
it tends to lead into things.
And look at us now.
Podcasting
Super
away.
cool.
So I think that's about it for this week.
If you'd like to share your geeky hobbies with us,
And please do, because we're always looking for more things to spend time on.
you can always find us on the web. Where are our links?
And in the description down below.
We need to get that printed out and on a piece of paper so that we can...
Well,
run
there are all
through
the links for
gathering information and the Twitter.
Yeah. At Infogatherers.
At Infogatherers on Twitter.
Yep.
I think you can email us and all that stuff too.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. So,
And if you have
Find us on Facebook.
any requests about where to find any of these geeky things,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think you can also... Isn't there a section on the website about...
Yeah, I'm going to add the website. We have a website which is kind of an umbrella for all of our different podcasts because we do more than just this one.
Oh, no, I just meant the Infogatherers website. Isn't there stuff on there from Laura's Crochet and all that?
Yeah. And what I was going to say is that it links off
Okay.
to our Infogatherers website where we have blog posts about magic stuff, where Steph posts about some of his league play stuff, and
Yeah,
Laura and
I
I
haven't
have
updated in a long time. And
occasionally
yes,
talked.
occasionally.
But there's photos there as well that we like to put up, but you can also see our pictures on Twitter. So all the links will go in the doobly-doo down below.
Cool.
All right, so until next time, thanks for spending time with us.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. You two are so weird.
If you want to spend a podcast
You're the one who
talking
enjoys
about
spending
me.
time with both of us.
Oh,
It's true.
dang it. All right, let's see.
And not only that, you're the one who forced us to sit next to each other.
It's
right.
because you're supposed to be. This is how we started the first podcast. I was always by myself.
I think actually Step was in the middle when we first were
I
doing
think
it.
so.
Oh,
Pretty
no,
sure.
that's not good. This is better. Sorry, it just works.
Because
this way.
I was the quiet one and I had to be face on to the mic.
That's
Yes.
right. But you've learned to project since then.
Sure.
Here we go.